So look, I'm going to give you first my disclosure. Nathan Knottingham, NMLS 270165. I am not a financial wizard in any way, but I've got some thoughts, and I want to have an honest conversation today. One that, well, might ruffle a few feathers, but I think it's important. You've probably heard the advice before: pay off your mortgage as fast as you can. Maybe from your favorite financial radio host.
Pay it off today.
Maybe from your parents who listen to your favorite financial radio host.
When you give your income away, you have nothing.
Maybe even from that voice in your head that says, hey, your financial favorite radio host is dead is bad. Get rid of it. Sleep better. Look, that mindset has helped a lot of people. It's brought peace of mind, stability, a real sense of control. I'll never knock someone who chooses to live without debt. That's a powerful choice. But here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. Paying off your mortgage early isn't always the smartest financial move.
Good Lord.
In fact, it can actually cost you wealth, but only if, and this is a big if, you know how to manage the money wisely in other ways. That's where most people get stuck. Look, if you're a Ramsey fanatic or cash is king only type person, then maybe just pass this video by. But if you want to hear a different side of the same coin, stick around. I'm not dogging Dave Ramsey. The guy's got some good advice. But his advice is built around one core idea: debt is risk. And again, I get it from a behavioral standpoint. It's solid. He's not just giving financial advice. He's giving life advice to people who've felt crushed, confused, or out of control with money. But here's where we differ. When you treat all debt as bad, you ignore the fact that some debt, like a mortgage, can actually be used as a strategic tool. It's like saying fire is bad because it can burn your house down. True, but fire also cooks your food and heats your home, and it depends on how you use it, wisely or unwisely. A mortgage, especially a fixed rate loan in the 3 to 6% range, is often the cheapest money you will ever borrow. In fact, with inflation running over 3%, your mortgage is actually shrinking in real value every year. So why rush to pay it off if that money could be working harder somewhere else? But to really understand this conversation, we need to pause and break something down, okay? Not all debt is the same. There's a huge difference between consumer credit debt and investment debt. And if you don't understand that difference, well, it's easy to make decisions based on fear instead of strategy. So let's break it down step by step. Consumer credit debt equals a liability. This is credit cards.
Credit cards, stupid. Stupid.
Consumer credit debt equals a liability. This is credit cards, personal loans, store financing, buy now, pay later, those kind of offers. This kind of debt funds things that lose value the second you buy them. Clothes, electronics, vacations, that kitchen gadget you used once. The interest rates are sky high, often 15 to 30%. And worst of all, there's no asset behind it, no appreciation, no equity, just monthly payments draining your future for something you already consume. This is the debt Dave Ramsey is fighting, and rightly so. Consumer credit is a trap. It eats your margin and hijacks your peace of mind. But investment debt equals leveraged asset. Now compare that to investment debt like a mortgage on your home. This is money borrowed to buy an asset that typically grows in value over time. Now, you're using leverage to take control of a property worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if the home appreciates, you gain equity, not because you paid it off fast, but because the market moved and you owned the asset. Here's the key. Investment debt is tied to something productive: real estate, business assets, even student loans if they lead to higher income. These are debts that can generate returns, build net worth, or improve your long-term earning power. The rule of thumb, well, that consumer debt takes money out of your future. Investment debt managed wisely can put the money into your future. But here's where it gets tricky. Some people take investment grade debt and treat it like consumer credit. They refinance their house to buy a boat.
Stupid.
They cash out equity for a lifestyle upgrade, not an investment.
Stupid on steroids.
They borrow against a rental property to go on vacation.
Somebody ought to smack you. That's stupid.
That's not strategy. That's just more expensive form of shopping. So if you're going to hold onto your mortgage or use it as part of a bigger financial game plan, you need to treat it like a business would. Leverage intentionality. Maintain reserves. Know your ROI. That's how the wealthy play the game, and it's how everyday folks can too, if they understand the rules. So here's the catch, and this is a big one. A lot of folks say they'd invest the extra money if they didn't pay extra on the mortgage, but then they don't. Instead, well, it turns into another vacation they really can't afford, a second car they didn't really need, a boat that probably breaks down, a garage full of junk with no resale value, or just extra lifestyle inflation that quietly eats the money. This is the trap. If you're not intentional, your extra cash flow doesn't build wealth, it just disappears. Let me say it straight. If you don't have the financial discipline or strategy in place to use the money wisely, then paying off the mortgage might actually be the best move. At least it's forcing you to build equity in an appreciating asset. At least it's going somewhere productive, even if it's not optimized. But if you do have a plan, if you've got a handle on your spending and you've got a budget, an emergency fund, and you understand investing basics, then letting your mortgage ride while you invest the difference can absolutely lead to more wealth. Think about it. $1,000 a month invested over 30 years at an 8% return, that's over $1.2 million. Versus $150,000 to $200,000 saved in mortgage interest. So it's not about what could happen. It's about what you actually do. And that's the real question here. Who should pay off their mortgage early? Well, if you're someone who craves simplicity, struggles with spending discipline, doesn't want to manage investments, or just sleeps better knowing the house is 100% yours and you can still pay your taxes, well then yes, paying off your mortgage early is a solid path. It may not be the most profitable, but it may be the most peaceful, and that really counts. But if you're someone who understands how to put money to work, wants liquidity, not just locked up equity, and is disciplined enough not to blow the extra cash on junk, then you might want to let that mortgage ride. Keep the fixed payment. Invest the difference that you would have paid to pay it off faster, and build wealth with intention. Here's my bottom line. It's not about right versus wrong. It's about behavior versus math. It's about discipline versus distraction. And no one can answer that for you but you. If you don't trust yourself to use money well, pay off that house. But if you do trust yourself, if you're committed to learning, investing, and building smart habits, well, then a mortgage can be your best ally, not your worst enemy. Just remember this, financial freedom isn't about what you could do with your money. It's about what you actually will do. Choose accordingly. If you need help figuring out the math about a mortgage or want to know really about how to make your payments make sense, look, I'm a mortgage person, NMLS license 270165. I'm not a financial advisor, but I can refer you to some really good ones. Thanks for listening. And if you've been on the fence about this decision, having a home, mortgage, paying it off faster, I hope this gave you something real to think about. We'll see you in the next video.